I, 30 female, worry that my husband, 32 male, might be falling in love with another family.
Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started.
I, 30 female, worry that my husband, 32 male, might be falling in love with another family. First of all, I want to say that my husband is an absolute amazing man, and what I say here is not to tarnish his reputation or anything like that. We have been married for 6 years, known each other for 8. Initially, we both wanted to have kids. Him more than me. However, I wanted to finish up my education first. Towards the end of my senior year, I ended up going to the ER. Long story short, I found out that I was infertile. I told my husband, at that time boyfriend, that I won't be able to have kids. He was distraught, to say the least, but he told me he still loved me and stuck by me. At that moment, I felt so guilty for having a guy that would be willing to give up so much just to stay with me. We ended up getting married later. We have had a great marriage. We both were very close to each other at that time. I'd say we had sex about 10 times a week, and weekends were our special days. About 3 years into our marriage, I went in with joint pain, was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Soon after, with all the medication I had to take, having sex got to the point where it was unbearable. My husband and I would still try certain things other than PIV, but I knew it wasn't going to be the same. My husband was caring and thoughtful, and there were so many nights since then when we tried and ended up crying in his arms. When we'd go to bed together, he would cuddle up next to me and give me a massage to help alleviate my joint pain. I felt like I was the most selfish wife ever. I had robbed him of having a family. Now I was having him stay with me in a sexless marriage. I couldn't keep living with the guilt, so I told my husband that I am okay if he sleeps with other women. I told him that I don't want to hear about it, just to do it behind my back. We had arguments about this, but I remained firm. I told him that I couldn't keep him like this. A bit later, one of our mutual friends, we will call her Lisa, has been passed away. In all honesty, we weren't a big fan of her husband. Lisa and her husband weren't in good terms. Technically, they were married, but they lived in separate homes, and her husband would rarely visit her and their daughter, Danny. Danny was 5 years old at the time of the incident. Lisa needed a lot of help because she worked full-time and she needed help. My husband and I volunteered to help. Things such as picking Danny from daycare, spending some time with her, work around the house. I noticed, especially when it came to Danny, my husband and her connected right away. Very soon, Danny was always excited to see my husband. It started getting to the point where he would spend a lot of time with him. Initially, when Lisa needed help, I'd be out and about, but my RA really limited me. By the time I came back from work, I'd be exhausted and couldn't really be that active. I noticed more and more that Lisa would upload photos of my husband, her and Danny together on Facebook. I didn't think too much of it at first. It wasn't until someone commented on it and said, "You guys look like such a happy family." After reading that, I had this sinking feeling in my heart. I started noticing things more and more. I noticed my husband would come home and just be happier than normal. We will spend a lot of time together, but it wasn't the same. The highlight of this week would be spending time with Dan and Lisa. He would bring up stories about what happened with Danny. My husband and I were invited to Danny's birthday party, and I noticed That should pretty much describe my husband as her dad to her friends. To add to that, I noticed how Lisa would stand around my husband as if he was her husband. I didn't really know what to do at this point. I just wanted to vanish. My husband made plenty of attempts to make sure I was not out of place at that party, but it almost seemed like him and Lisa were the ones that were the family and I was the guest. Since then, I have tried to make an effort to connect with him more. We still spend a lot of time cuddle up in bed together. I try to be physically intimate with him as well, but none of it worked. We tried PIV sex after trying a lot of lube, me switching my gyno, and a bunch of different things. Yet it was still extremely painful and it didn't look like my husband was having any fun either. I feel like I failed as a woman. I can't give my husband anything. I fear my husband's attachment to Lisa as well. I told him that he is free to have sex with whomever. I don't think he has acted in it with anyone up until this point, but I think there might be things going on between him and Lisa. I have noticed that back then he used to masturbate a good bit more. He'd always have some cum on his boxers, how I knew. Now I really find it. I did tell him he is free to sleep with whomever, so I can't even hold it against him. And even then, I don't think it would be fair to stop him. So far, this has been going for a little over a year. I am not really sure of what to do. Danny is really attached to my husband, and I feel terrible for taking him away from here. I don't know if I should ask my husband if him and Lisa are doing anything, because I told him earlier I didn't want to know. I was diagnosed with RA, and I'm sterile. Husband has been taking care of me since. However, recently he has taken interest in helping out another family. Now I feel as if I am losing him them.